UFL Jim here, everybody, and I have some treats for you. UFL just signed a new sponsorship deal with Pizza Hut, so we're gonna get to eating. It's week 8. We got picks. I got KJ Disciple on the show. We're talking UFL, baby. Let's go. It's all about me. It's the UFL show with UFL Jim, your one-stop shop for all things United Football League. We have a sexual
Cheers to you.
tension. We have
Not
the
the show.
heat. We have the power. We have the news. It's all here on the UFL show with UFL Jim. Starting off, I just want to say thank you, Pizza Hut, for having an excellent choice in the league. You couldn't have picked a better league to sponsor. Let me tell you. And Pizza Hut kind of partnering with the UFL is sort of like Pizza Hut partnering with me, if you think about it, because I am the Jim for the league. So I should technically get a lifetime supply of Pizza Hut. But I'm not going to complain. Other cool things going on. We basically have a Season 3 confirmed because they're already selling season tickets. Mwah. That's beautiful. That's excellent. I love seeing that. It's a great thing for the UFL. And a great thing for us fans. Now, it's going to be 10 weeks again. And I know a lot of people are theorizing that they're going to add 2 new teams. So what does that mean? It means maybe those teams don't play everybody in their division twice. I think they still would have to, but maybe they don't play everyone cross-divisionally. Maybe they get rid of like one cross-divisional game. I don't know. I don't know how it works. But I'm excited for the future. Now, we look ahead to week 8. There's a lot of things on the table. There's some interesting playoff scenarios with Houston and Arlington still technically alive as long as they win this week. If they lose, more likely than not, they're, for all intents and purposes, Houston's officially out if they lose. But Arlington, if they drop this one, for all intents and purposes, bit kaput. Another thing I've seen people talk about, especially ramped up, the damn crowd sizes. I'm tired of hearing of it. It's such a hard thing to fix mid-season for a lot of these teams. Like, Memphis, you're not going to fix mid-season. Birmingham, you're not going to fix mid-season. Congratulations, Michigan. You've been, like, steadily going up. But this is something you have to address and attack in the off-season to get people to come. It's so hard to be like, oh, it's the middle of the season. Guess what? Now we're getting more people going. It's just not going to happen. It's just not happening. It's not going to happen. So whatever. And I have one complaint. One complaint of the league for this week. How the hell, and this is maybe just a complaint for Fox, how the hell are you going to have 2 games at the same time on the same day? Noon Saturday, we got 2 games going simultaneously, both on Fox, which means some people only get to watch one game, some people only get to watch the other. You're effectively incentivizing people to illegally stream your league, which is not a good look. Not a good look, Fox. You should do better. UFL should do better. Now let's get to KJ. It's at this point in the show that I'd like to welcome none KJDiscipleP. Round of applause for the man. Just give it up to her. Okay, Mr. KJ. Got a couple questions for you. First off, who are you?
I am KJDiscipleP, super fan for the beloved Houston Roughnecks. Been an OG fan since the original 2020 season of the XFL, and I followed the team ever since. Football's been my passion out of all the major sports since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, so it just follows. And being from Texas, always got to rep H-Town for life. So,
how do you feel about the Roughnecks rebranding from the Gamblers? They move the Roughnecks, they bring the Gamblers in, they turn them into the Roughnecks. How do you feel about that?
I think it is a bittersweet pill that most of the diehard OG fans have had to swallow. That being said, no one's going to tell you that they're mad that the team is still here. So all that to say, I think through even kind of in a conjunction of some of our own grassroots efforts to help keep the team here, can go into more of that backstory if people are interested on a separate note. But through those efforts, essentially, is what helped guarantee that our team remained after the consolidation and the merger between the USFL and the XFL. And I think through all of that adversity, the diehard fans have stayed true to the team, even though that population and quantity may be a small number. We're slowly, hopefully, going to regrow attendance like every other team is shooting for over time, and get back to the former glory we experienced way back in the heydays. So.
I feel like year 2 of the UFL's gone, huh?
I mean, if all you have seen as a sports fan or a football fan following the UFL so far has been since last year, you would think that we're on a super high upward trajectory. And in a sense we are, I would say, respective to how we did last season. We only garnered 1 win last year, went 1-9. The experience, if you were there in person for any of the games, was definitely paled in comparison to the environment that TDCU brings, in my opinion. While Rice Stadium is a very historic venue and where we played last season, the amenities, the infrastructure, all of that is very dated, is the best way to put it. And it's felt by most of the fans who attended the game last year. I think everybody's happy to be back at TDCU. I personally am a UH alum, so I'm biased, but also can recognize that it is a more modern, architecturally built stadium, has a lot more modern amenities. Everything down to the concession variety and availability is much more broad and up to date, you can say. So,
Try stuffed crust pizza from Pizza Hut. It's just, if you could change one thing about the league, what would you change?
I would say, honestly, and this is going to sound like beating a dead drum, but truly it is the level of marketing. And I know while people will say that, they've done a good amount, and they have for any business, a football league is a whole different animal. There are, you could go to any local, I'll go down to the most granular level, any food establishment in your local town in which you live. And I guarantee you within a day, you could find multiple locations that you never knew existed. And that speaks, in my opinion, on even that small scale to the power of marketing. And when you evaluate that compared to a football league, something that is grandiose and, Mount Everest in comparison in size from an operational and just physical standpoint, the level of marketing that has to go into that versus a single independent business, if you will, or just a single marketed product that you might consume on a routine basis is night and day different. And so while they have done a good amount, and maybe the most basic amount you could to facilitate, the maintenance of this league, I think over year, we've seen a decline, probably for a multitude of factors, but one of which, in my opinion, definitely has been lacking in the marketing department in the local areas of each team in order to boost that attendance. I applaud everybody that's done their part from a grassroots standpoint to help try to spread the word and foster interest and popularity with each of their respective teams. But individual people can only do so much when you have a whole business entity behind you, especially third-party investors as big as like Redbird Capital and the like. If you're willing to put in the money and maybe in the upfront take a loss, in the long run, it will pay dividends. I don't know. I personally, while I've never managed a sports league, and I'm not going to claim to have the know-how that some of these people do in their, upper echelon seniority positions, I think I've worked long enough in my respective industry to understand the basic building blocks of business, and would say that I don't believe that doing the minimum with regards to the marketing component is sustainable long term. You have to start pouring in more. So that's just my opinion.
If you could say one thing to the higher ups of the UFL, the Jane Garcia's, Moose Johnson's, Redbird Capitals, what would you tell them?
Listen to your current customer base. And that may sound corny and redundant. One of the biggest things, and this is relates to marketing, but it's also different. When you look back at the XFL 2020, people who maybe weren't a part of that iteration don't know about this, but one of the most unique things they did, besides just pouring tons of money into marketing in general, shout out to Oliver Luck and Vince McMahon's prowess and know-how. The one thing I noted they did from that year that has never been repeated since, even in the AAF of 2021, was that they were literally constantly pushing out polls to the fan base through email distribution or what have you, garnering votes. And I know to some extent, now I can't, grade it on an actual quantitative level, how much they were actually utilizing that in making final decisions on certain operational components and, merchandise or whatever it may be. But the fact that they were doing it shows they were at least willing to entertain the voice of the audience, the existing audience and the existing customer base of the league. If the UFL did that, I mean, off the rip, I could guarantee that would automatically garner better short-term outcomes from a strategic standpoint with regards to whether it's league operations, merchandise you offer, different little functionality components in the league and the marketing, all those things would be benefited by hearing from your customer base that you're trying to grow. So that's just my thoughts.
What's your favorite way to consume UFL media and get information, huh?
That was hard to answer, honestly. In the beginning of my fandom, I would say Facebook was the play, and kind of for the most part still is for me, because that's where I operate my main profile page. I'm a part of a large number of the fan groups that we have for the UFL and for specific teams too. So I try to garner information from that. There's, shout out to you and every other person who's doing the grind to create a podcast, no matter how small. All those things cumulatively contribute to kind of the amount of talk there is in the interweb and, online about our league. So I think everybody that does that helps. I follow everybody from the Bottom Line to AFN to PFN to, I can't remember them all off the top of my head to name them all, but, Texas Talking Football, Horns Forward Podcast, the list goes on. And all these people are doing their part to not only bolster backing and support and awareness for their own maybe immediate team that they founded their channel or what have you on, but they're also making an effort to broaden their coverage and cover the league as a whole. And I think that just helps boost the amount of clicks, if you will, or so to speak, activity online that the league has, no matter what avenue through which it comes. So,
all right, bub. Last question: who's champ going to be? Year 2.
If I had to pick today, it would be probably Michigan. Now I know people are going to look at, I'm going to cry a little river on the side over here, but from our game this last weekend and the fact that the Stallions have Jalen back may be the X factor they need to start garnering greater, I guess, consistency or potency on offense, if you will. So that may change. And I think currently they still technically may hold the lead on the USFL divisional side or conference side of the league currently. But I mean, if you look at things going back week by week and really get into the weeds on the stats, truly no team has beaten Bryce Perkins and company on a full 60 minutes of play. There have been games where he played that a lot of people like to reference the Battlehawks game. And it's almost a parallel, in my opinion, to the game we played against Birmingham in Houston back in, I think that was week 4. I may be off on there, so correct me if I'm wrong or forgive me if I'm misplaced. But all that to say, we started, I think, the first quarter, maybe a couple minutes into the second quarter, Nolan was playing. He got injured. Jalen came in and took over. And I mean, did he take over? Same thing speaks to Bryce Perkins. They almost had a similar, dichotomy, or you could call it quarterback room blunder, in which the depth chart almost seemed like it was inverted on how it should have been from the start of the season. But when he came in there, I mean, dude has been unstoppable. He looks like a ballerina on the football field. And I mean that in all respect and compliment. Dancing around the field, making guys miss. The level of athleticism he displays is ridiculous, and it's extremely fun to watch and entertaining. And the fact that nobody has been able to beat him in a full game in which he started, I think, speaks to the prowess and capability he has to lead that offensive and that team as a whole, in a sense. So,
Well, all right, KJ, thanks for coming on. Go ahead and shout wherever you want to shout, bub. All right, this piece is so good.
Man, I'll say, obviously, if you're a big Facebook fan or have a lot of following the groups or what have you, feel free to look my page up. Name's down there on the screen. Have a Facebook page, as well as I'm also on X, so feel free to follow me there. I do a short little video series every Friday called Fun Day Friday, where I kind of do like a 15 to 20 minute quick blast video excerpt that gives an update of the current sporting activity in the sporting world, whether it be UFL or what have you, along with some discussion on viral trending topics, if there are any, and then bold predictions for that weekend slate of games, whether it be UFL or any other sport. That's something I've started since the early part of the year. Had a lot of fun doing it. It's just a cool way to kind of, a lot of these podcasts, while they're good, and I haven't watched yours long enough to even apply this critique to it, but some of the other ones, while they are good and very informative, they also run very long. And all of us have busy schedules and busy lives. So my thought was, when I created my little video excerpt series, was that if I can keep it short and sweet, it almost makes it easier to consume for the average viewer online, potentially. So that was my kind of strategy and thought process behind it.
Pizza Hut, making it great. A Pizza Hut just doesn't have just pizza, by the way. They got these little pizzone calzone sandwiches. I got the pepperoni lovers one here. Game number one, Friday, 8 p.m. on Fox. We have the Showboats versus the Brahmas. Many people are going to call this one the Basement Bowl, the Slop Fest Bowl, the Who Gives a Fuck Bowl. But honestly, sometimes those games can be the most fun of the entire week. I'm excited. We've got only two teams that are officially already eliminated. I want to see craziness. I want to see all the stops pulled out. I want to see many people get played. I'm going to say over 3.5 quarterbacks get playing time in this game just because now it's all about getting guys film. It's all about giving guys a shot. That's the whole point right now. I'm excited if it is just one quarterback per team. If it's just officially Kevin Hogan versus Dresser Wynn, that's an exciting matchup. And I want to see Dresser Wynn ball out. He's been super fun this season, and against a defense as bad as the Brahmas, I think he can do some real damage. Speaking of which, can the Brahmas defense actually do anything? Can they make something happen? Can they do literally anything? I don't think so. The fall off of the Brahmas defense from season 1 to season 2 needs to be studied. The Memphis Showboats have at least showed life at points this season. That gives me some hope for this team, the Brahmas. They've been packed up for a while now. They played DC tough last week. I think that's just when they play DC. Maybe that's the only time they turn it on. I like Memphis here. I like them big. I don't think it's going to be pretty. Their Showboats are going to just dominate on both offensive and defensive lines of scrimmage. And I think they're going to overwhelm the Brahmas. And probably be able to run on them. Probably be able to pass on them. It ain't going to be pretty, folks. It ain't going to be pretty. We'll wash this down with a little Pepsi. Saturday, 1 p.m. on Fox. We have the Michigan Panthers versus the Houston Roughnecks. The Roughnecks' backs are against the wall. They need this game in order to have any shot at the playoffs. They lose and they go home. Last week was their big shot. This is their only shot now. This is a must-win for the Houston Roughnecks, and that's an interesting spot they find themselves in because the Michigan Panthers are coming off of a very close win against the Renegades and maybe looking ahead to the Birmingham Stallions next week. I get that they don't get home field advantage no matter what, which is bullshit, but that's for another topic for another day. But right now, they may be overlooking the Houston Roughnecks, a team who is feisty, has an underrated defense, and I think even still at this point, underrated quarterback, Jalen McClendon. He looks really good. The clowning everyone's given CJ on the season, while deserved, maybe he's actually done a good job coaching. That's something to be commended on. This team has fought hard back from the depths of hell. And they have a lot to show for it and a lot to prove still going forward. The quarterback battle in this is going to be so much fun. McClendon versus Perkins, sign me up. Sign me the fuck up, baby. I think Michigan should be able to run the ball pretty well, which means I think Perkins is going to go lights out and just ball out of control. But I think Houston could do some stuff and do some damage in the passing game. So maybe we get us a little bit of a shootout here. And I hope so. I'm hoping for fireworks in this one. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be exciting. I think Michigan probably squeaks it out. You know what? Let me ponder this for a second. I think Houston gets the win. I think the Roughnecks get a win over the Panthers, and the Houston Roughnecks are staying alive and fighting for a playoff spot for at least one more week, damn it. Next game up, also Saturday, 1 p.m. on Fox. Go fuck yourself for that. We had the Birmingham Stallions versus the St Louis Battlehawks. How can you put two amazing matchups going at the same time? It doesn't make any goddamn sense. Make it make sense, UFL. Make it make sense, Fox. Please. Please someone explain it to me. Joel Klatt, please sit me down and explain to me how the hell this makes sense. From a broadcasting standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a league standpoint, it makes no damn sense. Now, the stakes for both these teams, pretty high. Let me just tell you, Birmingham Stallions, they're basically in the playoffs. They basically have the playoff spot locked up, similar to the Battlehawks. As long as they keep winning, they're in. And they get a home game no matter what. So they don't even need to get first place in their division in order to secure a home game for themselves. That's a wonderful place to be at if you're a team like this. But there are some teams just creeping up on them. The Houston Roughnecks creeping. They're mostly creeping on Michigan, but the Renegades creeping on St. Louis a little bit, creeping up on the Battlehawks. I'm excited for this matchup. We get the man, the myth, the legend, J.M.R. Smith, back at the helm for the Stallions. He is leading the charge. He is starting in the hostile environment of St. Louis, where this defense is going to be going lights out against a sort of battered Birmingham Stallions offensive line. And I think we might end up getting a sort of low-scoring game out of this one because as well as Duggan has improved week after week after week for St. Louis, I still don't know if he's up to the task of going against a defense that's going to kind of show him some really interesting looks and try and do some weird things to him. The run game for the Battlehawks will be stifled a bit by this great defense of Birmingham, and they're going to rely on Duggan to do it through the air. And I don't know if he has that. I don't know if he can be like the sole factor, you know? I do trust the Battlehawks more if it's a very close game just because they have Rodrigo, but Mens over on Birmingham's sideline, not a slouch either. They got the thick kicker, and maybe we'll get a kickoff. We might get a kickoff. This could be a fun one. Again. Stop. Don't. I get this is the only one. Stop scheduling games at the same time, UFL. And finally, Sunday at 1 p.m. Central on ABC, we have the Arlington Renegades taking on the DC Defenders. What a matchup. Huge playoff implications. By the way, Pizza Hut just doesn't have just pizza. The Renegade backs are against the wall, especially if St. Louis wins their matchup the day before. They'll know exactly what they need to do. And people are labeling the Arlington Renegades as choke artists. This is a great opportunity to put that to bed, to just kill that narrative and take down the DC Defenders, who they almost did a few weeks ago. They have a strong passing attack. They have a great defense, and I think they can get a lot done against this Defenders team, who we've seen lets teams hang around a lot. I feel like I want to take the team that's like back against the wall. People aren't believing in them, but I still like their position. And with DC's defense being what it is now, I suspect this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I think it's going to be similar to what we saw last time. Back and forth. Both quarterbacks making some excellent plays and some real boneheaded ones. It'll come down to whoever makes the fewest mistakes. And honestly, both these teams make quite a few mistakes. Now, if the Renegades can kind of like actually do something and keep momentum in the second half, then I love their chances. But I can't get behind a team that has shown time and time again to not just have choking capabilities, but also just to have flat out bad luck at times. It's really tough for me to get behind that team. Meanwhile, on Defenders, it's all on the offense. Specifically, it's all on Tomu, because their run game has been awful these past few weeks. So it's all on Tomu, on his arms. And they're going up against a defense that is feeling themselves right now. That defense, just like as good as Bryce Perkins is, defense actually did pretty good against him last week for the Renegades. So think about what they could do against Tomu. I'm excited for this one. I'm glad this is the standalone Sunday game. Very, very hype. Very exciting. The narratives are all there. The playoff scenarios are all there. And it all culminates with this game. What a way to finish the week, huh? Now, on to a couple final thoughts I have for week 8 of the UFL. Number one, the playoff scenarios. If the Renegades win against the Defenders, they are very much alive. But they really need St. Louis to drop another one. It would help, too, if DC, I think, dropped one more there. They're not win and you're in for the rest of their games. They need help. They could also get in somehow if they lose this one, if St. Louis loses this and also loses out. They would have a shot. They would definitely have a shot there. for Houston Roughnecks, you got to win this one. You lose this one, you're out. I think you play Michigan again, so you have a chance to knock out the Michigan Panthers, which would be absolutely devastating. So I don't know who's really going to be rooting for the Roughnecks in that scenario. Basically, for the other two teams in each division, it doesn't matter because it's either going to be St. Louis getting home field advantage no matter what, and Birmingham getting home field advantage no matter what, or that's the only outcome. Because the league, in all of its infinite wisdom, decided not to schedule a potential other venue for if DC and Michigan were first place in their division. Because, I don't know, maybe you would want to think about that. Make it make sense. Make it make fucking sense. It would try and have these, like, teams. What do you get for winning if you're DC? What do you get for even trying then? If it's DC and Michigan, it's like you're fighting for first place. After this, you get locked in the playoffs, but you're fighting for first place. What's the point of even trying? You're already going to be playing away no matter what. But whatever. I'll say this, though. Compared to where we were last year, there's so much at stake. The narratives are fantastic. This is what football is all about. Playing for the playoffs. Playing for your brothers in arms. And we're getting that week in and week out of the UFL. This is what a season's supposed to be. You're escalating each and every week. The action gets better. The stakes are higher. And this is just pure adrenaline-filled entertainment. And that's all football, baby. That's all UFL. And I couldn't be happier. Shout out Pizza Hut, by the way. Thank you all. Let's have a great weekend.